Derik Nelson. Derik is returning to Coffee Breaks. He was on, it's been almost 2 years ago. He and I were amazed that it's been that long. But Derik is a singer, a songwriter, a producer, and an educator who lives in Olympia, Washington. He writes, records, and produces his own music as a self-taught multi-instrumentalist and audio engineer. His videos have received over 4 million views on YouTube, performed in 150 cities around the USA, and reached over 100,000 students of all ages with educational music, workshops, outreach programming, and fundraising assemblies. You may recognize Derik. He appeared regularly as the lead guitarist on television's Glee. If you were a fan of Glee, he was the guy in the background typically playing the guitar when they sang. His original songs can be heard on TV and in movies, and his singing voice has been featured on such shows as ABC's Modern Family, Fox's Raising Hope and New Girl, CBS's How I Met Your Mother, and NBC's Go On and The Voice. Derik holds a Bachelor of Science in Music Industry from the University of Southern California, where he helped to shape the curriculum that has now become the popular music degree program, a program that only 3% of applying singer-songwriters are accepted into, very elite, and for which Derik was honored with a department award recognizing his contributions. Among the other awards that Derik has received are the Brian Wilson Music Scholarship for Songwriting, the award for Best Male Artist in the 12th Annual International Acoustic Music Awards, and first place in the Indie International Songwriting Competition for his original song, The Way It's Gonna Go. Derik was invited by the USC President's Office to write the music and lyrics for the USC graduating class of 2011's commencement anthem. His song, Take Chances, was featured at commencement and was the catalyst for his first independent tour across 40 locations on the West Coast to raise money for high school arts and music programs. This conversation with Derik was recorded a few days ago because of Derik's availability, but you can still join the conversation with your comments and questions for Derik in the chat. Derik has told me he will be able to sign in later and respond to your questions. So let me welcome and let you interact now with Derik Nelson. Well, Derik Nelson, welcome back to Coffee Breaks with Steve. It's been a while, but it's good to have you back with us again.
It is so good to be here. Thank you, Steve. And I am ready to go. With
you are ready to go.
Steve mug here.
Excellent. Well, you know, the last time we spoke, we were in the midst of the pandemic. And I recall that had already changed a lot of what you were doing. And just kind of to recap, I remember that just before the pandemic hit, Derik Nelson and family, your trio with your siblings, was still something you had shows scheduled. You were just getting ready, I think, to travel overseas for a UN tour, and everything changed when the pandemic hit.
It was a difficult time for everybody. So I don't want to try to sit here and say that I'm special, but everybody had to adapt, right? And the nice thing about it is it did pave the way for a lot of meaningful connection in other ways, as you are proof of, facilitating really cool conversations. Just on this platform alone is a really special thing. But for us, it was bittersweet to have to officially, professionally disband as a performing music trio. That was a huge dream of mine that I had spent a lot of my life building to, and felt like we had finally reached the top of the roller coaster, so to speak, and just was not prepared for the drop. And so it was hard, especially with family, especially with something that is so meaningful. The music was written by me for me to sing with my brother and sister on stage, and to have that be our full-time job was such a privilege. And that piece of it is definitely not lost on me, and is even more special now to look back on, and meaningful now that it has come to a close. So even though the chapter has closed, it has been, we view it very positively, because it's made opportunities available to us in our own individual lives that weren't necessarily there with all of our time spent together on the road touring. so yeah, it's created some really cool opportunities in my life, and is a great reminder to us all about perseverance and letting things go in order to make room for new beginnings.
And let's talk a little bit about those new beginnings, because your priorities did change during COVID. You did launch some new ventures and approached what you were doing in a different way. And I just, what were some of those things that happened as a result of the pandemic, and what of those things has continued now?
Yeah, great question. Being a musician, music was the focus on people making music was heightened because of this idea that now we're isolated, we're in our homes, we're learning instruments and wanting to get our voices heard. Mm-hmm. So the demand for professional sounding recorded music went through the roof. And so me here in my little home studio with talents and passions for playing different instruments and putting all of those pieces together to make great sounding recordings, suddenly I had an opportunity to partner with other artists and other musicians who didn't necessarily know how to put a band together, how to book studio time, what goes into producing, recording, mixing, mastering. Well, those are all things that I love to do. So to be able to expand my own skills as a musician to help other people create music that they love and get it out there in the world became my new purpose. And with that comes a lot of different creative projects. And so it became very project to project for me. I think there was a lot of time that I spent trying to figure out what my next dream was. I felt so purposeful writing my own music and performing for people on stage. And with that element missing, it almost opened up like a lot of uncertainty. And so working with other artists and getting to see the joy from them based on the things that I was helping them create really was sort of a light bulb moment for me. And we can talk a little bit more about where that has led now, because I have another really exciting opportunity that just began this past month.
Okay, let's talk about that. You've now put the teaser out there, Derik. Let's talk about it.
Well, the big reveal in talking about purpose and legacy, if you will. I've been in the music business for over 20 years now.
Yeah. How's that? What did you start when you were 5 or something? Come on.
Right?
Yeah.
You could sleep at night, I try.
But it's over 20 years. That's amazing. Yeah. Anyway.
And it's grown from this early age of having this passion for music and having a curiosity about learning. And so with that comes a level of wonder about what kind of things am I going to leave behind, right? I have this catalog of music that I have a small but very very loyal and supportive fan base who love my music. And the fact that I can make an impact on people through the songs I write is amazing. But I know that that's not the limit of the impact that I can make on somebody else and the way that I can serve the world. And so the biggest thing for me during the pandemic was, again, figuring out how to move this connection piece online. And so I hosted a lot of different online collaborations. Some of them were supported by the State Department as we moved some of these tours to a virtual model. I was able to create some curriculum that utilized the online interface as a way to strengthen bonds between musicians and people across cultures and countries. And that opened some doors for me because I'm now thinking about how you can impact another person from a music education standpoint. What can I do to help inspire the next generation of musicians who want to be singer-songwriters, who want to be producers in their own studios and create an independent career that they love in the same way that I have? So I got a call from out of the blue from a public charter school in Southern California. And being a former California native, you might be familiar with them. They're new in the past 5 years. They've only been around 5 years, but the school is called Elite Academic Academy. And again, a public school. They serve multiple different counties in Southern California, and they are completely online. So virtual homeschool with flexible options for their students to learn at their own pace, focus on the time of day that they want to be in classes to maximize their own individual skills, passions, and talents. So there's a lot of alignment there for me, because I love the idea of that program. And this school is, Steve, it's revolutionizing education. I mean, every day I'm sure you see headlines about where education is going and people getting pulled out of the, pulling their kids out of the public school system. And so trying to find ways to keep students engaged is a really big challenge. This school, get ready for this. Again, only been around 5 years. Okay. This past year, they were awarded the California Distinguished School Award for performing in the top 6%.
Top 6%
of all schools in California.
That's huge.
All public schools in California, the top 6%. That just blew me away. Good. We're talking about COVID. Yeah. We're talking about across the nation, students struggling to be engaged in class. Education levels plummeting, performance levels plummeting, students really struggling. And this school did the opposite. So it's just an incredible testament to the amazing woman that founded this school. Megan Freeman is her name. She's the CEO. And she's constantly dreaming of new ways that she can provide opportunities for everyone who wants to attend this school. No barriers of entry. And you can imagine how difficult it can be to try to imagine how to teach music, how to teach performing arts, how to teach any sort of creative music focused programs. So once she saw some of the things that I did, I know we talked about dancing in the living room last time that I was on. And some of these collaboration events that I had produced and coordinated, she was like, oh, Derik might be the guy who can help us solve this. So I am so thrilled to say that I've partnered with them, and we just completed our first of two 2-week workshops with small group intensives, and the students just thrived, Steve. It really, it was that moment for me where I felt like I have found my next dream. And I've been waiting a long time to try to put together some sort of education program, and spinning my wheels a little bit, as a lot of people do sometimes when there's a giant project or a giant goal that you have in your mind about what you want to do, and trying to figure out where to start can be really daunting. Suddenly this opportunity came in, and they have the foundation laid for how to provide resources and infrastructure to make all the things that I would love to do happen. So it really is an awesome partnership so far, and I can't wait to see where it goes.
Congratulations on that. That does sound like such a perfect fit. As you were describing it, I thought of all the things that I know you've done over the past 2 or 3 years, but throughout your 20 plus years, it just, all of it fits so well. So that just sounds like that's fantastic. And you're continuing now along with that. You're continuing to back out there performing? Are you recording at this time? What else is going on?
Yeah, so I have, I am very fortunate that one of the tours we had scheduled that was going to be in 2021 was then canceled, obviously, due to everything that happened in 2020. And we were able to reach back out to some of the presenters that were a part of that tour, and it's mostly primarily through the Midwest, and rebook those dates with a special evening of songs and stories with Derik Nelson. So it's going to be an acoustic show. I'll play both guitar and piano. Okay. not at the same time, but I don't know. Don't put it past me. And that's slated for next spring. So spring of 2024. It'll be a short run, a few weeks that I'll do out in the Midwest. But I'm excited about that.
That's great. That's great. And hopefully is that something, I mean, that'll be available to the public? There'll be information on your website and other places where people can find that at the proper time.
And especially your listeners or anyone listening out there who is located or has family or friends in the Midwest. It's not necessarily a region that tends to get a lot of big acts coming through, which is why some of these associations started these concert series to give smaller towns and smaller areas exposure to great music. And so I'm honored to be one of those musicians that gets to serve those communities.
For your own, you're talking about now being able to be more involved in education in the school. A little bit more about your background. At what age? I mean, musical family, obviously, at least with your siblings. I don't know about your parents, and that'd be interesting to know how musical was your family, and at what age did you really know that music was something that interested you and that you wanted to continue to pursue?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah, my parents are great music appreciators.
Okay.
But they're not necessarily musicians themselves. But we always had, I was exposed to amazing artists and bands that were, on the stereo, in the CD player growing up. Kenny Loggins and Sting and Steely Dan and, Pat Metheny, one of my jazz heroes.
Oh, yeah.
A wide range of music that we kind of grew up with. And so that really informed my experience and foundation with music from an early age. But I've never told anyone this story, I don't think. But I remember when I was probably, I was little. I was probably 5 or 6. And I didn't know anything about sheet music or reading music or anything. But while I was outside on the swing, I had come up with this little song that I had written about the sky and the birds and the trees and everything. And I didn't want to forget it. And so I came back inside and I found a little notebook and I wrote the words down. And then I was like, I remember this moment in my head where I was like, but how am I going to remember how it goes? So Steve, I kid you not, I made like dashes and drew little lines above the words with how long it was supposed to be and kind of what, like, a very basic, like, crude
music notation. You created your own language of music notation to remind you to hold on to that. That's
exactly
fantastic.
I wish I could find that little whatever that little.
Wouldn't that be great?
That would be so cool. What's that?
That would be great to be able to locate that, right?
Yeah.
I'll talk about legacy. I mean, to be able to pass that along and say, this was the first time I composed a song, right? That's great. I love that.
Do the remixed version now.
Yeah, do the remix. Back in the studio with it. So do you recall a point in that growing up? Because obviously also your siblings were pursuing at some stage their own musicality, and was there a crossover there? Was there a point where you as a child went, I'm really interested in this. I really wanted, whether that was starting the garage band or just doing things that led you into a place where it was becoming part of your life, really?
Yeah. I mean, with my siblings, none of us, we all suck at sports. So as kids, mom and dad tried to sign us up in tons of different stuff. Basketball, I could barely throw the ball high enough to even reach the net, let alone into the hoop. Football, I lasted one play. You can imagine that. I don't have to spell it out for you. Honestly, volleyball was the biggest thing that I stuck around for 2 years, 5th grade and 6th grade. And I thought it was great. Like, there's only girls on this team. This is awesome. I'm the only guy. This is great. And then it started to dawn on me by about 6th grade why. And the funniest part about that is then my first day of high school, we transferred school districts. So I was at a new school. And by that time I was, 14 or 15. I was a sophomore. And by that time I had made my first CD, and I made it at home in my room, and I printed them myself. And so I had passed them out at lunchtime and stuff. So I was thinking maybe there's a little buzz around, oh, Derik is this, music guy. So I am walking through the hall, and this girl catches my eye, and she says, "Oh, Derik Nelson." I was like, yes, that's me. You, yeah. And she's like, "We played volleyball together in 5th grade." I was like, "Oh no!"
Not the memory you wanted. That wasn't the attention you wanted.
Association I was hoping for, but yeah, a great example of the fact that sports were never any of our strong suits. But we loved doing theater. We loved being on stage. We loved art. We all, played instruments in school band. And so from that, there came this love for an audience, and the exchange of energy between performer and audience. And all three of us really always fed off of that. So anytime that mom and dad had friends over for dinner, I mean, we were 7, 8 years old, and we would put on little shows in the kitchen and hold these poor people hostage for hours on end, making up songs and dances and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, it was always a part of our life, and to get to kind of rekindle that later on in our adult years and turn it into something professional was really a dream come true.
No kidding. Your family and my family would have gotten along. I sucked at sports too. Yeah. And my younger brother was good at sports. He played some sports, but my family was another one of those that my siblings and I, we would just get together. We'd sing along with whatever was playing on the radio, or in my day it was the record player, or the cassette tapes. But we'd harmonize with it. My older sister and I were both in choir at the same time in school. Did all the musicals. And just that was just part. And then our kids, not surprising, I mean, we didn't push them that direction, but it was when we were doing that. And my wife is the same way, came from a very musical family, so she and I were always singing. As our kids grew up, we were introducing them to different music, and so that the music was just always in there. We didn't turn ours around to what you and your siblings have done with it, or what you have done individually, but I can relate to what you're saying. Was there a point? What was the point as you think back? Was there a crossover point where you really realized that the first big break, was that something as Derik Nelson and family? Was it something you did individually where you kind of went, not necessarily, okay, I've really made it? Because I think, all of us realize, even when you're in the maybe especially when you're in the entertainment business of some kind, that you're going, I always have to continue to work for and fight for that next gig, that next thing. So I don't know that we ever say I made it, but was there a point where you really felt like this was a turning point?
I think that feeling that people describe of wanting to quote unquote make it has to do with validation.
Yeah.
Because so much of our career, no matter what field you're in, there is that level of insecurity around, am I good enough? Do I belong here? Is this what I'm meant for? Am I right for this? Do people care? Right? So overcoming those insecurities and getting forms of validation, I think, is the definition of making it. And those little moments come in different ways. But the one that stands out to me the most was my freshman year of college. I had gone to the University of Michigan to study performing arts technology, which I thought was going to open up a lot of different educational avenues for the kind of music that I wanted to create, and the production side of things that I really wanted to learn. And it was a little bit frustrating, not that it's not an incredible program. It just wasn't right for me. There was a lot of time that I spent in a basically like a computer lab with headphones on, programming music and learning to program things. But in my heart of hearts, I wanted to write real songs and perform them and get on stage. And so I was really longing for that. And so I took a huge leap and I decided, I think I'm going to transfer colleges. You know, mom and dad just got me set up here, and I have friends here, and I don't know I've never been to Los Angeles, but I'm already thinking, like, after college, what do I really want to do? I want to do something in the music industry. I don't think I'm going to necessarily find that as fast or as easily in Michigan. It's also super cold here. I can't do trees in April. Not happening. So I took a huge leap as an 18-year-old and decided something isn't going right. I'm going to make a change, and I'm going to take a huge chance and put myself out there and see what happens. So I transferred to USC, the University of Southern California, and it was like a domino effect where things started to click. And by the end of my first year at USC, I was working hard to write songs, to meet people that I could collaborate with, to go the extra mile for the professors I was working with. And it gained a lot of notoriety. People started to notice. Mm-hmm. And to my surprise and honor and, I mean, utter disbelief, I received an email that I was awarded a scholarship for songwriting from Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys. When I got that, I was like, well, clearly they see something in me. If Brian Wilson sees something in the things that I'm writing, like absolute legend, songwriting hero, then obviously that means something. That's not just something that, you know, everybody gets, you know, a dinner and an honor and an award from Brian Wilson. So that was something that gave me immense momentum moving forward, that I'm on the right path, that there's something here that if other people of this stature can believe in me, mm-hmm. then, man, I can believe in myself.
That's great. What do you think? We're going to get short on time here, but I wanted to ask you this. You talked about some of the things that you've done across cultures, across even internationally, even doing things online. But what do you think it is about music that makes it such a universal language?
I think music as a universal language is able to communicate emotion. And I don't think it's any surprise that 99% of songs are written about love, the most powerful human emotion. So people feel that. I think as human beings, we understand emotion and feeling above anything else. And music is what is the conduit for allowing us to express that. And it's a really fascinating thing to watch when you see musicians at a high level, you know, just jam or improvise with each other. Mm-hmm. It's a conversation without words. You know, you can follow the story, you can follow the journey. And as listeners, we have the same abilities, whether or not we've expanded our vocabulary to understand the intricacies of all the words that are, you know, quote unquote words that are being expressed. If you go to another country and you hear people talking, you can sometimes follow what the conversation topic is or what the feeling is. And the same is true in music. Mm-hmm. And so getting to do that in places like Kyiv, Ukraine, places like Transnistria, a breakaway region of Moldova that is in the news now a lot, obviously with the war, having those experiences where we've performed James Taylor songs or Eagles songs in a huge auditorium with people that do not speak English, and to see tears in their eyes and them singing along to Peaceful, Easy Feeling in 3-part harmony is a magical thing. And it's such a great reminder of the power of music.
Oh, yeah.
And what it does to remind us that we're all human beings.
Yeah, I love that. Final thing here. where can people, if they want to find out where you're going to be performing, they want to get a hold of some of your music, where can they go?
DerikNelson.com. Thank you for the plug. It's Derik, DERIK, Nelson.com. Again, I love taking on new creative projects. I'm doing a lot of different things right now. Anything from recording and mixing and production to custom songwriting. Yeah. I'm even doing private music business coaching to help other artists get their feet on the ground and establish their own independent career success in music in today's day and age. So if you are interested in songwriting, in playing guitar, in how music can become a part of your life and a part of your career, please get in touch with me. I would love to be a resource to you, and you can email me, contact me through my website. It goes directly to me. I read each and every email I get. And DerikNelson.com. Stay in touch with me there, and I look forward to hearing from you.
And we're going to be showing that information for everybody. We're going to have the website available and sharing that information. Derik, it's always a pleasure to chat with you, and I doubt very seriously, unless you're opposed to it, this is going to be the last time that we converse and share what's going on in life. So thank you for being. Yeah,
mug will travel, Steve.
All right, my friend.
On the internet right here. Before we go, Steve, can I put you on the spot? Because
you can always put me on the spot.
Your listener base doesn't get to hear from you. What inspired you to start Coffee Breaks with Steve? Why is it inspiring to you?
It's funny because I started at Derik before COVID, and it's another one of those situations that really became much more profound during the pandemic, but just a way to continue to connect with people. And I refer to it as being the virtual coffee table. We get to sit around and talk about things that might be interesting and bring very interesting and wonderful people like you into the conversation. So for me, what inspires me is people connecting with people and talking about things that are going to raise our level of understanding and appreciation. Thank you for asking.
Yeah. Well, thank you for doing this show. You're an amazing host, and it's an awesome service that you're providing to people who want to further their understanding of other people's lives. And it's an awesome thing that you're doing. So I'm just thrilled to be a part of it. And please invite me back anytime.
Very good. Derik Nelson, take care, my friend. We'll talk again.
Thank you, Steve. Till next time.
All right, Derik Nelson. Shalane mentioned the same thing happened the last time Derik was on the show. He does love to turn the tables, and I appreciate that. It's the interest that he shows in what's going on. I want to quickly let you see where you can follow up with Derik. This is his website. Derik Nelson, he mentioned it, www.deriknelson.com. We had it up here on the screen a few minutes ago. I'll put it back up there. Pretty straightforward. Just make sure you're spelling his name correctly. But DerikNelson.com, and through there you can also, among other things, you can get to where you can find his actual music and go through and look for his albums, the various downloads that are available, and get to his music. Some of it is still out there from when he and his siblings were recording and traveling together, Derik Nelson and family, and it's great music throughout, and he's done some more recent things too. So just an opportunity for you to get out there and listen to and download Derik's music. I know he'd appreciate that, and it really is worthwhile to listen to. He's got some great stuff out there. So I just want to very quickly share with you again some of the things coming up in the next few weeks here as we continue with Coffee Breaks with Steve. Next week on Coffee Breaks, Lisa Steele is going to be returning. Has been on the show a couple of times in the past. She's going to talk about failure. We're going to talk about, the topic is failure is not an option, or is it? We're going to talk about why we avoid and fear failure so much, why it creates so much insecurity and so much issue for us. And part of that comes from circumstances we've been in where we've been made to feel that failure is a bad thing. And Lisa's going to help us understand why failure can be a very positive thing and why we should, in fact, embrace the failures that occur in our lives, because they are part of the learning process to move on to the next step. 2 weeks out, Anna Leah Young is going to be with us. Anna Leah is something of an expert on manners and etiquette, and we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about things that have been part of our manners in the past and propriety in the past that may have fallen by the wayside, may now be passé, but what is still relevant? The please and thank you, and do we hold doors open for people? Do we hold chairs for ladies? Is it still ladies first? And kind of what do we need to know about manners and that type of thing? And then in 3 weeks, who do you think you are? Where does our identity come from? We're going to talk about how we identify ourselves from the things that we do and from the things that we've been exposed to, and just talk about identity as a part of going through our own lives. And if you have topics that you'd like to see us discuss, this is your virtual coffee table. If you have topics you would like to see us discuss, guests that you would like to see us that you would like to see, finish this up. There we go. You can send me a message. You can email me at cbwsteve@comcast.net to share your ideas. Love to see those. And of course, want to know what you want to be a part of, because you are part of the conversation. Once again, I just want to say thank you to Derik for being here. I want to say thank you to all of you for being here and being part of the conversation today. I know there's a lot of things you can be doing on a Saturday morning besides hanging out with me, but I love you guys and I appreciate you. Thank you for taking the time to be here. And just remember that we all have something in our lives, like Derik. In Derik's case, he's shared a lot of what he has. Well, Derik may have certain unique characteristics, but we all have some unique characteristics about ourselves, things that we can share. So please find a way to make a difference in your world this week. Take care. God bless you. Have a great week.